Okay, I'm going to show you how to a simple example of inversion of control, or IOC, in Java. First of all, without using Spring, and then with Spring. So I'll start off with my basic Hello World in my Hello package. And what I'll do is I'll drive this from the top down. So I'll start with, we're going to use the example of a car with an engine. So we're going to have an engine, combustion engine, whoops, combustion engine. So we're going to create a new combustion engine. And I think I'll actually call that combustion engine. And then as well as that, we're going to have an electric engine. So these are two different kinds of engine. Semicolon. So we've got two different kinds of engine. And what we want to do is we want to, when we create our car, we want to tell it what kind of engine we want to use, whether it's going to be combustion engine or electric engine. We want to tell it which kind of engine we want it to use at this very high level. So when we start it, we'll either hear a vroom or a click. So I just say turn key, car turn key. So that's it in a nutshell. Actually, we need to flesh out all the rest of it, but this is actually going to be an interface, this engine. So you've got two different implementations of the interface. I've left that as combustion. That should be electric engine. So we've got a combustion engine or an electric engine, and when we create our car, we supply the type of engine to the car. So this kind of construct is known as inversion of control or dependency injection. You're injecting the engine into the car rather than doing it sort of old style where you go deep down. When you're inside the car, you decide what engine you're going to create at that point. So this keeps it at a very high level, and that's the essence of inversion of control and dependency injection. They're synonymous terms. Okay, so I need to create an interface. Now, it's a bit fiddly because it keeps asking me to create an Apache Catalina engine, which we don't want. We just want an engine, so I just create it manually rather than letting IntelliJ drive this. So we're going to create a new interface, and we're going to call it engine. And this engine is just going to have one method, and that method is just start engine. So whether it doesn't matter whether it's an electric or a combustion engine, they both want a start method. I think that needs to be public as well. Whoops, public. Okay, so we go back there. So we've got our engine interface. Now let's let IntelliJ drive me. So I'll create the class combustion engine, and this is going to implement start engine. And all that's going to do is, oops, that's just going to go vroom. I think that needs to be public. And then we're going to have an electric engine. Oops, should be an uppercase E. And let's go into that. Engine. And this is going to be the same. Start engine. And in this case, it's going to say click. And there we have our electric engine public. Right, so we've created our interface engine, our two engines, combustion engine, electric engine. our car. We haven't created a car yet, but we've got the combustion engine being passed in at the moment. So let's create the car. And so the car has a constructor that takes an engine. Engine E, and that can set the engine inside the car to be E. Let's add the engine at the top here. Engine, and then we have start turnkey. So it's just a void method. Turnkey, and all that does is start the engine, whether it's electric or combustion. So I think that's as good. Let's just run this and see what happens. And there we go. There's our combustion engine going vroom. So imagine if at the very highest level you think, let's use an electric engine in this car. So it means you don't have to go down into the bowels of the code. You can just change it at this level. Electric engine. If I run that, there we go. So the electric engine just goes click. So that's IOC without Spring. Now, if we now introduce Spring, so Spring's got a slightly different way of doing it. Spring replaces all this. So let's just comment this out for the minute. And we replace it with some special annotators. So the thing to remember is this ACAC. So if I just type in capitals ACAC, annotation, config, application, context. Yeah, it's just something you've got to remember. So we create that object equals new context, and we need to give it a parameter, but we'll come back to that. Actually, I'll put a to do, just in case I don't forget. To do add param. And then what we can do is we can use the get bean method on the ACAC for the car class. Again, it's just something you need to know. And that will actually return a car object. So it's similar to this line here, except we've not done any of this. We haven't created an engine object or even a car object. We're just getting a bean. So we get a car bean, and then we can turn the key, and that's it. There's just a couple of other supporting classes that tell Spring how to wire everything together, and this should work. So I'll just add those now. So I'm going to add new Java class. The first one is the component scan. So I just call it Spring component scan. And that has this Spring annotation component scan. And you have to tell it which packages you want it to scan. So I've just got the one package, hello. And that's it really, the component scan. That's all you need to do. And the other one is just add this one, is Spring configuration. And this has got configuration annotation. And inside this, we just define a couple of beans, one for the engine and one for the car. So the car, we just tell, whoops, car, we just tell it that this is the form of the car, takes in an engine, returns a new car. This is just defining the relationship between the car object and the engine object. Oops. Engine. And this is where you can choose whether you want a combustion engine or a electric engine. So this is the key point really. So if you want to change your bean, if you want to change the kind of engine, this is where you change it, rather than in that main, sorry, new combustion engine, rather than in main. Okay, so let's go back to main. So there's our spring configuration. There's our spring main, and let's just run it. So I've actually forgotten to add the parameter. That is why I put the to do. So let me stop that. And what we need to do, I'm just going to drop this down to the next line because it's a bit long. We need to add in the ACAC, annotation config application context, we need to give it a parameter, and that parameter is this spring component scan class. Spring component scan class, and that makes it all work. Let's try again. There we go. Vroom. So that's a simple example of inversion of control with and without using Spring.